Do you own that open letter? And
thank you for raising that issue. We all know corruption does not only impact NRM members, corruption impacts us all. If we can't get good roads, that is because of corruption. If we cannot have good hospitals that are institutions for saving life, that will be because of corruption. The Constitution of Uganda enjoins all of us to combat corruption. So all of us, including you, you have an obligation to fight corruption wherever it is. Coming to the demonstrations, you know, Article 29 of the Constitution allows for citizens to peacefully demonstrate. Why was I concerned that we are not doing enough and the head of state must have led by example? Recently you saw and you've watched the video of the Secretary General of the NRM party. He said the only thing which will push NRM out of parties if they do not deal with corruption, nepotism, and greed. Why did you think he said that? It's because he knew there were a lot of things happening. The scandals this country has gone through are not just the recent ones. You have known of the Temango, you have known of the Valley Dams in Karamoja, recently the Mabati. There are so many scandals where billions of money gets lost. And it's the future of the young people being eaten. It's the future of the Gen Z being eaten. So if the people come out, if these young people come out to express how they feel about the situation, why would someone term them to be criminals? When the president came to address us during the State of the Nation, during the budget, he was very categorical about corruption. He said he had identified corruption in the Ministry of Finance and Parliament. As a fountain of honor, the people listened to the president. That's why the youth felt concerned. You have heard the former IGG say all the corrupt people, they hide behind Museveni. So if those ministers get appointed by him and the corrupt people are not small farmers in the rural areas. The corrupt people are people who sit in offices, they get appointed, they get massaged. Because why do I say they get massaged? If we were serious about them, I'm sure there are people who should have taken responsibility for what has gone wrong and sacked such officials. You saw the president yesterday sacked Sally. Don't you think that was the right thing to do? Because if your hands are tainted, there's no need for you to sit in public offices. That is the kind of action Ugandans expected. Coming to Parliament, we will not have a moral authority as Parliament if we do not clean our house. How shall we be able to point fingers at other people if there are still people who believe Parliament is a corrupt institution? So we felt we should start cleaning from Parliament before we now go and point at others. Otherwise, we will not have the moral authority. I strongly believe the president can lead by example through words, through actions. For example, the IGG, the neo one, Betty Kamia, who is also a member, who was a member of the FDC, said we need to do a lifestyle audit. A lifestyle audit would allow me and you to be linked for your resources to be linked to the assets and whatever investments you have, for you to demonstrate you were a journalist. How did you put all these mansions? If there's no strong relationship, then there's a cause for you to answer. Then the president said she must go slow on that. You see, he has been inviting people to join him in the fight against corruption. So when the young people come out, he terms them as agents of foreigners. And that is something he should have come out clearly on with the evidence to show you were involved in this subversive activity and what you are doing has nothing to do with the corruption. That would make sense. But without that kind of proof to go and label every legitimate concern about corruption as a work of foreign agents, I think it's to undermine the role of the young people in fighting corruption. I want to say what the youth are doing is constitutional. They have a right to combat corruption. They have a right to peaceful demonstration, and the leaders must show them the example. The role the police would play in this case is to provide security, to sort out the bad elements. If indeed they have a reason to prove that something wrong is being planned, they need to deal with that because they have the infrastructure to deal with that. One of the reasons we are concerned is, you know, Parliament had reallocated about 700 billion. Fund was wasteful expenditure. That money was redirected to areas like building schools for the poor, building hospitals, buying ambulances. And the president came and wrote that parliament is corrupt. So when the budget was being repurposed, we were looking at those areas where he indeed pointed corruption, and that was not clearly brought out. What came out was that resources which should have gone to the poor people was again now redirected to individual companies. How do Ugandans benefit from this? How strategic is this for Ugandans? If health cannot be a priority, if ambulances cannot be a priority, if schools, there are so many sub-counties without schools. If this cannot be a priority, whose interest are we working for? These are legitimate questions we should be able to engage on. We who are elected leaders, we who are public servants, we are not above criticism. If you hold a public office, you must subject yourself to criticism and be able to respond. And this is the kind of discourse I would want to invite you, the media, to promote. You are the fourth arm of government. There are things we will not be able to see and check. You must play that role and make sure these things happen for the good of our people. For example, why we're in Parliament asking for us to have a debate on the allegations being made about Parliament is for us to lead by example. You are right that it is time for action. We have spoken enough. Your future has been stolen, and everybody must step up. We are in opposition politics because we think the government in power is not doing enough. If you go to our hospitals, they have become institutions of death. Our road infrastructure is poor. Our youth are unemployed. You know we are losing more than 10 trillion annually in corruption. And this is being massaged by the ruling party. We want something that works for the Ugandans, and that's why we are proposing alternatives. No party defeats FDC in alternatives. You know our people used to suffer with this graduated tax where they were looked at as slaves. And when FDC came in, we proposed that this colonial tax system cannot be enforced. And what did not happen? That was abandoned. When FDC came in, teachers were being paid like 150 to 200. We said when we come into power, the minimum we will pay teachers is 400. Now you know teachers' remuneration is beginning to improve. We said during the COVID we are going to give some safety net to people in communities because we noticed Ugandans could not get started. What is now happening, government has brought PDM. All these are modified versions of FDC proposals. You know we are part of ideas, and whatever we put in the population, the government will always find it worth. So I want to invite everybody to associate with this political party for its ideas and for the kind of leaders it produces. You know our two speakers are members, they were members of the FDC. You know so many prominent people. The Deputy Attorney General was a member of the FDC. There are so many people who are now ministers in government who are holding serious leadership positions in this country. All these people are nurtured by FDC. You know me and Odria were leading the campaign against corruption in Parliament. Odria was a member of FDC. So FDC nurtures leaders based on value, and that value is helping the country. And I think that is the political party the people must embrace.